What up, my ninjas? I am STRYDENT, and I am finally back with a toy review. It's been a while. Today I'm reviewing the McFarlane Halo 4 Promethean Knight and Promethean Watcher. I am not a big fan of Halo as a video game. I only played 1 and 2 and a little bit of 3, but I am a big fan of the universe and the designs within the universe. I love the various suits of armor, the villains, you know, the way they're designed, their aliens, their ships, everything, the way it looks is awesome to me. Even though it borrows from other sci-fi, you know, films and, you know, various sci-fi stories, I still like the look. When I saw these guys, it was like a no-brainer. And forgive me for my stuffy soundingness. I have a pretty bad cold right now, and since I'm home from work, this is what I'm doing. The Watcher. The Watcher's not really that big of a deal. It's just a very interesting mass of plastic, very cool lines and swooshes all over the place, and he looks extremely alien, and I like it. You can tell he has appendages, but you can't really tell what the appendages are. I mean, I know you can tell that there are legs involved in there, and there are 2 arm-like things, but if you haven't seen him in the game, which I haven't because I haven't played Halo 4 yet, he just appeals to me basically from an aesthetic point of view. And I like that, you know, he looks alien. And I don't intend to use him as strictly something for Halo. You guys will see this when I get to it, because you know how that is. I mainly picked these 2 up because they are supposed to have connectivity. And I'll be getting to that in a second. Everything that is present on this design kind of has a function to it, and you can tell, like the disc behind him is obviously what allows him to fly. It propels him. I'm assuming in the game it probably can bend up and down and point in different directions, but I love the sculpting on the entire figure, and especially on this disc, the way it's contrasted to the nice sleek metallic portions of his body. That looks almost like stone, you know what I mean? And that's one thing I gotta say for McFarlane. Their sculptors are awesome, and a lot of their sculptors have gone on to sculpt things for, you know, Marvel Select, DC Direct, etc., etc. But they do tend to have some of the best sculptors in the business. I'm not a huge fan of McFarlane. I have a lot of their figures from select lines, but this is some, you know, really well done stuff. I mean, every little detail was paid attention to and is present on this figure. And, you know, even if you don't know much about him, if you are an artist or if you are a fan of good art, just looking at this thing, it's a masterful design. I got to give them their props. I mean, you get down to it and you look closely on it. The paint apps are pretty good. They're better than pretty good. They're nice, you know. You just get down to it, and he's a work of art, a tiny little work of art. Not much in the realm of articulation, but he is a nice looking figure. Now the Knight. The Knight is a huge mixed bag. The sculpt is awesome. I mean, look at that face. Holy shit. I like how he, you know, he just screams intimidation. You know what I mean? Like, he seems like a very powerful, very, like a force to be reckoned with. And he towers over most of, you know, the other Halo figures, which is awesome. I'm assuming in the game he's got to be pretty big, you know? I really dig the fact that, you know, he's got a mixture of organic and technological, you know, details to his design. And it all, you know, it works. I love the hard light blade, which is something that I've been wanting to work with in, you know, my own comics, is that concept of hard light constructs. And I like the scatter shot. Strangely enough, I had a character, it actually was me as a superhero back in the day, and my code name was Scattershot. So I dig this. And they're both removable, actually, which is cool. I dig the shapes throughout this figure. Everything is really alien, and there is a little bit of crustacean or insectoid, you know, design to him, but, you know, overall, the mix of those things is still pretty alien, and it looks nice. I like how, with the right lighting, his the little flyaway pieces look like they're floating next to him, you know? I like the fact that he doesn't look out of place when put next to your other Halo figures, you know? He actually looks like this is something they'd be fighting, even though they're not really connected, you know? Design-wise, they're not really connected, you know? It's just armor is armor, and he's wearing armor, and your Halo guys are wearing armor too. So it's kind of cool seeing that, you know? And these guys are well detailed. Going back to proportions, I really dig the fact that this guy, he's 8 inches, while your Halo people are about 6 inches tall. And it's nice. And then I like seeing, you know, that kind of a matchup. Helps make your hero look more badass when he's fighting a giant villain, you know, or opponent. Here he is compared to a G.I. Joe. That's me. It works. This is probably what you're going to be seeing a little more of. There's a lot of detail on this guy and a lot of moving parts. I mean, on the box, they boast 40 moving parts. It's pretty cool. Some of the articulation works. A lot of it doesn't really work. Like there's no bicep swivel, so his arms can only move in, you know, limited direction, and that's kind of annoying considering you look at this figure, he should have a shitload of, you know, articulation, and practical articulation at that. Like I said before, the paint is awesome. You're seeing all the detailing up in the area behind his neck, in the underside, everywhere. It's just really well done paint apps. I didn't have any slop on mine. And usually McFarlane figures are sloppy. He is skinny, so playing with him, I bought 2 of them, and one of them fell. Pieces broke off immediately, those flyaway pieces. So he's not very sturdy in that respect. So you got to be careful. And my joints on mine are pretty loose. I saw a review on another review on YouTube, and he had the same issue. I had the loose joints, and you have the flyaway pieces that if you drop them or you bump them or something, they possibly could break. So you got to be careful with that. You know, once again, from an artistic standpoint, the design is amazing. It's pretty nice. It's not your typical shit from, you know, your action games or your sci-fi stuff. It's pretty nice. I mean, yeah, he's armored and all, but it looks in line with the Arbiter or the Covenant. And even though it's a separate race, it still looks reminiscent, you know, in a way. The way the armor falls on certain parts, what is exposed and what's not exposed, the way the legs are kind of reversed, you know, like dog or you know, horse legs or whatever. Now this is the part that pissed me off a lot. So you're supposed to connect, you have this big space here in the back, and their Watcher is supposed to connect there. You see that space in the middle portion right there, and you're thinking, hey, I could fit the whole body of the Watcher in there. But the attention should be drawn to the little hole in the top of the top peg or top panel. That hole, that top panel hole, is where you connect a portion of what is the Watcher into your Knight. You don't actually just fit that whole figure right there, what you see in there. You have to separate his upper body, take his arms off, or his upper appendages, and you shove that. Yes, I'm repeating myself. You take him apart. You gotta rip his upper torso out of the lower torso and take the arms off. Then you gotta jam the back of his head piece into that hole, and it sits in the back. So you have this hollowed out back portion of your Knight, and you have, you know, the torso of the Watcher sitting there with this weird Watcher penis hanging off of him. It's weird. I mean, why would they waste all that space? And you know, and as much as I bitch about Hasbro, and this is the first non-Hasbro review I've done in a long time, I just don't understand how they would do that. Like, why would you design it in such a way? That just doesn't make sense to me. So I was really disappointed that, you know, I found a Watcher. The Watcher itself is not that big a deal, and then, you know, it didn't fit. Okay, and then on top of it, you see this hinge that holds one of those panels, you know, and allows it to move. One of mine on the second Knight, it just broke. I went to turn it, because you can actually, that's all you can do. It swivels and it opens up and down. It just broke right off on the right hand portion of the 2 little balls that hold it on. Fell right the fuck off. It just cracked. I was like, what the fuck? That's it? So these things are only being held on by minimal stress, and the ratchet joint actually just sits in between those two parts. There is not a bar going all the way through it. I'm like, you guys, seriously, you cut corners like that? It's kind of a shame, because kids are going to see this and they're going to want to play with it. Collectors are going to see it and they're going to want to kind of play with it and pose it and try to push the aspects of its articulation as much as possible to get that perfect pose or that perfect image. And I'm pretty careful with my figures. You know, I've got figures that are older than the Halo franchise. And I collect some pretty high-end figures sometimes that are not so durable, like some of the SH Figuarts. And I've never had these kind of issues, and I'm having this with McFarlane. And I've always had these kind of issues with McFarlane figures, you know. I've got various Solid Snake figures from 1 and 2 that stuff happens. So, you know, overall, I think this figure is, I guess if you're a Halo fan in any way, shape, or form, you need to have this guy. But based on the issues that were going on with this thing, I can't recommend it wholeheartedly unless you're a fan. I mean, he looks cool, don't get me wrong, but given the issues that I've pointed out and the things that are lacking from this figure and the price tag, I got this because it was on clearance at Target. I paid like 15 bucks for him or something like that, and I wasn't going to pay 30 for him. I was like, fuck that. Just because he comes in a box that's the same size as the 3-pack from the package that's also 30 bucks does not mean I'm going to pay that for this figure. So, you know, I waited and I got him for cheaper, and still I feel like I paid too much with the kind of bullshit that I'm going through with this figure, you know? So, I don't know, if you're a really big Halo fan, pick him up. I mean, like I said, from an artistic standpoint, if that thing's just standing there, it's fucking awesome. I actually can't wait for the other Halo figures to come out, because a lot of them are smaller than this, and it seems like the smaller they are, the more durable they are, judging from all the different Spartans that we've had, the Watchers. I want to find the Crawler. But other than that, I would say pass on this figure, because he'll take up a lot of space on your shelf. If he falls, you're going to be really sad, because a lot of things are going to break. And I mean, that's an eventuality for most collectors. You have shit on a shelf, something is going to happen that's going to make that guy fall. And the stand that he has is kind of weird, so, you know, it will happen. But for those of you brave souls out there who you have skills in fixing these kind of things, and you can deal with it and you know how to take precautions, pick him up. You can find things to do with him. He looks good sitting against or going up against just about any of your figures, because he looks very alien and nothing kind of ties him specifically to one universe. So as you're going to see here, he can actually be going up against the likes of anybody that you feel, you know, fit for him to go up against. So anyway, that is my review. I am Strident, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I will catch you on the next video. Peace outside.